Hey, Matt, that blue-haired kid in center field, he might be a pretty good ball player.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's episode is presented by our great partners at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Well, one of my favorite wins of the season as the Cubs defeat the Brewers 5-3 on Tuesday and are now 45-28 on the season. Seiya hit a 3-run homer in the fifth to give the Cubs the lead. They didn't look back after that. And it was highlighted later by Pete Crow-Armstrong having just a fantastic season this campaign, glimpses of generational talent, and he really put that on display on Tuesday. Made a heck of a catch in the top of the eighth and then homered to lead off the bottom half, which was predicted in a text from Sam Olber to myself. Sam, this was a fun night.
This is one of my favorite opens, man. I'm going to do my best with it.
Pat Murphy, I get it. He's a jovial guy, but to call Tucker and PCA after that series last month,
First of all, before I get into this, I want to just say this. The biggest swing of the bat tonight was Seiya Suzuki's 3-run home run. That was the biggest swing of the bat. I don't want to take that away from him. But in the eighth inning, you want to ask, what's the difference this year between the Cubs and Brewers? Yeah, bringing in Kyle Tucker is a huge difference. But on display tonight, the biggest difference now between these two clubs, the biggest difference between this team from last year, the year before, it's 3 letters. It's 3 letters. This kid has, like what Steele tweeted out, this kid has it, man. There's only a certain type of player that could get Wrigley buzzing like it was Tuesday night when before he even hit the home run, the crowd was chanting his name. And you just do it. Why did I text you that? Because that's what superstars, moments. It's about moments. That's what they do. And you want to know what the coolest part about it all for me was? And there's so much in this game. But I just feel like I had to start with Pete because I have chills. You know me. Legacy. I love superstars. I love legacy. That's what's great about sports. And you could be a superstar by having that middle personality like Tucker has. Tim Duncan, of course, my favorite athlete of all time, Lionel Messi. He's not a rambunctious, super outgoing guy. But when Pete does what he does, and then he hits the home run, the crowd's chanting his name. What'd you notice? He didn't come out for a curtain call. You want to know why? Because this is just a Tuesday night for Pete. He expects to do this, and he wants more of himself. He's going to go home tonight and go, that ground ball to second I should have done more with that pitch. He holds himself to such a high standard. The guy, we've talked about it a lot on this show, and a lot of times when we've talked about it, Matt, we haven't even talked about the baseball. It's the interviews, the personality. The dude is just awesome. He oozes with superstardom. And I got to tell you, and I don't do this a lot because it usually sets me up to get trolled. Jackson Churio doesn't have that. Go ahead.
Well, he doesn't. A lot of 99% of the sport doesn't have it. I think we're there at this point.
Yeah, no, it's...
And he thrives in these types of moments. And to watch that happen on your favorite team and on the whole planet on Tuesday night, and as it develops before and after this game, I'm embracing it. That's for sure. And that's one of the largest differences of this season. And I'm with you. I think the NL Central is the first goal in mind, especially as we sit here in mid-June. But why you allow yourself to dream is because of PCA.
Yeah.
Right. And we knew about the Cubs supporting cast. I think I've said it on the show before. The Cubs, first 22, 23, maybe even 24 players, good players, but they needed that 25th and 26th person that could really elevate the entire group. And I believe they have those two guys this year. It goes back to December 13th with Tucker. Okay, we know what he is, and he's been that pretty much. And he got robbed of. I'm surprised he didn't hit a home run.
Yeah, he almost hit 3 tonight.
Yeah, but then now they have two clearly. I mean, it's crystal clear. 2 stars, one that's going to be around at least for a long time, and for him to take over that game. First of all, how do you get to the ball?
I can't believe he caught that.
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know how he caught that ball.
And then the crowd is chanting, crushes the ball off the scoreboard in the bottom half. It's fun that we could even have this type of list this year, Sam. That's one of my favorite games of the year.
100%. And it's so beautiful when things go as planned, right? So going into the year, I've listened a lot to our off-season shows, and we're wrong a lot, we're right a lot. You talk about baseball every day. That's just how it's going to go. But when you got Tucker, you knew you were getting it, dude. And then the hope is that dude made Seiya even more of a dude. That's happened. And then the other hope was there somebody, one of these ceiling raisers, Shaw or Pete, that could come out of the woodwork and become another dude. And then you add in Bush too. And that's what's happened. And that's a huge part of the success, along with the fact that the pitching and bullpen, the bullpen again today, I know Cabrera gave up a run, but right. I don't even know if that was earned or not.
Hopefully Pomerantz is okay.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout by you via text, wondering maybe if he was hurt, but he's pitched a lot, so hopefully he's okay. But
bullpen has had more than a resurgence, right? They're at times dominant.
As of right now, they're one of the 3 or 4 best bullpens in baseball, and that's including the start to the year where they had 3 separate innings where they gave up 8 runs or more. Do you remember the beginning? Do you remember
complete meltdowns? Do
you remember that Sunday in Arizona when I came back? I was doing an episode and people were like, "Sam, why weren't you animated?" I was just so depressed that happened. Yeah. And here we are, Thielbar just comes in and it's just, this guy, can we give Jed a little credit for that?
Right. New Year's Eve signing. Everybody waved an eye on it. And that's not the right phrase, but
batted an eye.
Yeah, batted an eye. And he's been excellent.
I want to wave my eye and talk about, some other stuff from this game. But yeah, no, in all seriousness,
when Seiya hit the homer, did you think the Cubs won the game?
Yes.
Okay. Me too.
And you know what? That kind of summarizes it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because last year I wouldn't have thought that.
It would have been on pins and needles at the very least.
I got to tell you, in the 9th inning, this talks about Palencia and his improvement. I was doing show stuff.
Yeah, you moved on.
I was prepping, and then when Churio hit the double, I re-locked in. Right. I got a little nervous, but.
Well, I went to the bathroom during the top of the night. No. Okay. Well, I wait till after the game.
That's good news.
All right, let's keep talking about this fantastic win right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You could track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. It wasn't until I started using Monarch where I realized how much money I was spending on food delivery, online delivery services. Now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals, especially if you have a new family that you're starting. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
The Cubs are now 6.5 games ahead of the Brewers in the NL Central, and that sounds really, really solid. Fun times here as we record on June the 17th. Cubs with a 5-3 win over the Brew Crew, the team that they've been chasing really since 2018 by all most measures anyway.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking about this game, and at least for right now, Sam, we could go pitching and then get back to offense. So Ben Brown, two of his best starts of his career, I think, have been against this organization. He did enough on Tuesday. Not surprisingly at this point, he was not pitch efficient, but I thought his stuff, for the most part, kept him in it. He allowed some contact early. Especially the 2-run homer early, but it was a nice bounce back from last week, at least.
Yeah, I thought tonight was probably a step forward for him because I didn't think he was very good, but he was able to keep the team in the game. And that's been something with Ben where when it goes poorly, it typically, gets out of hand. I think I tweeted out right around after he gave up the 2-run homer, he followed that up with a single to Terang. And I kind of tweeted out, Ben, you can't have a meltdown tonight. You got to keep us in there. And he got some help. I know Bush had that one where he overcommitted when Cabrera was on the mound, but I thought overall defensively it was a brilliant day for the Cubs, not just Pete's catch. There was some good PFP stuff. Happ made a really good play. I thought the key sequence for Brown was when it was 2 on, nobody out, down a run, and they bunted. Shaw made that great catch. It was the 8-hitter.
Great speed there, too.
And then the 9-hitter, Ortiz, hit about a 108-mile-an-hour rocket where Happ, I think, had to slide because the ball was hit so hard. Made a really good catch. And then they got the ground out to first. I thought that was the key sequence in Ben's outing. I'm still not – I don't feel great when he's out there because it's like the 2-pitch thing – it feels like it matters. I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Everyone compares it. It's like, well, Steele does it with 2 pitches, but Steele doesn't do it with 2 pitches. He has variations of his pitches that make it 3, make it 4 pitches. I mean, we talked about that all year in 2023, and Boog would talk about it every single time he got on the mound. With Brown, it's straight fastball curve, and he mixes in a little bit of the change, but it just when one pitch is just slightly off command-wise, if he's hanging the curve or he doesn't have fastball location, it's very difficult for him to limit the damage. So I thought today was a step forward that he was able to limit the damage.
Yeah, that's well said. He's up to about 6-ish% changeup usage. It's just not enough for me right now.
What you said, 16?
6.
Oh, I was going to say, 6 is 6.
Yeah.
That was high.
It's a few a game or so.
Well, it's not a good pitch for him.
No, it's not. It's not effective.
Right.
And so many times against lefties, Sam, fastball high and away. It's just not even a competitive pitch.
Right.
It's a ball, another ball, another ball.
Let me interrupt you and just ask you this because I think this is the whole question. We're probably about 10 to 12 days away from Imanaga returning the rotation. Do you still feel like Colin Ray should be the guy that goes to the pen, or are you at all? Do you at all think it could be Ben Brown?
Well, I think at this point, I would send Ben Brown to AAA.
Wow,
which is a bold take, but
that's a huge story.
His ability to give. So I'm intrigued by him still in a short stint, but his ability to give them length, I think still could be important. And so to keep him stretch out to even 4 innings, an appearance down there, I think that's what they should do.
And you think, and then
the veteran Colin Ray, who has been,
they've been
not
similar.
Good recently.
They've been similar.
he saves his spot for now until they acquire Sandy Alcantara, whoever, and then he could be the swingman.
Wow.
So, and then Ben Brown, in September, okay, here's the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, who knows with injury and whatever else.
Well, here's my only pushback on here's the 6th for Ben Brown. His first innings are so bad.
Right.
And so typically in my history of watching this game, which isn't that long, I'm not that old, when guys move to the bullpen and have tons of success, by the way, quick sidebar, when you're done today and you're uploading or doing whatever, just take a look at Aroldis Chapman's season. Just a quick sidebar, speaking of reliever success. Unbelievable what's going on there.
He's got to be, 40?
He's 37. He's throwing 103.8 every time. When you're a starter, a failed starter that goes and has success in the bullpen, at least the way I always thought about it is you struggle facing guys the third time through, second time through, but you're really sharp. Brown's biggest issue is the first inning. So I'm not sure that I feel great about just, all right, Ben, come on in here. So we'll see. So you're less intrigued by him as a reliever. I wouldn't say less intrigued because I think the stuff would play. I just think that's an interesting thing that you have to consider is his first inning struggles when putting him in there. My guess is Ray goes, I always thought it would go like this. Ray would go to the pen and then they would DFA or send down a different reliever and Ben would keep his spot in the rotation for now. But I'm glad you said that.
Well, he's been given a long leash for sure, and that's because of injury, depth, and also poor performance by other people. But what he's done with that leash, I think, does leave some to be desired. And with Imanaga likely returning late next week, they are going to have some options. And even for a couple times through the rotation, maybe they do use an opener and then use Ray or something like that. And so I guess we'll see what happens there. I really would like to keep an eye out, post game here when the clubhouse opens on Wednesday about Drew Pomerantz. I know
you're really concerned about this.
They went to check on him on was that Sunday or Saturday?
Oh, you're right.
And so, he literally hasn't pitched in the major leagues in 4 years. He's late 30s. And so I think they're going to try to take this delicately. And if he can't pitch, Wednesday or Thursday, that's probably an urgency move that they would need to make prior to a warm weather series this weekend against Seattle, the Mariners.
It's really hot, man.
So Cabrera, I was confused why I was in that spot, but I'm trying to put together the pieces. Brad Keller had a little bit of turbulence, but survived. Caleb Thielbar, I believe, hasn't allowed an earned run since 2003, and Daniel Palencia. I did watch the ninth. I didn't step out. I waited till after the game. I was kidding earlier, but you could blink or get a snack, get a scoop of ice cream, and the game was over. So just a fantastic.
Man, am I glad that you're back?
A fantastic game. I am captivated by PCA's stardom. And to wake up on Wednesday and to have two stars, one that is taking over the sport in real time, we're gonna savor this, and that's a reason they could go far this year.
Well, Thielbar hasn't given up a run since the Friends finale.
What about MASH? Which had a TV.
I believe that's the most viewed, sitcom, on cable ever. I mean, that was what I think 03, 04, something like that.
Jamison Tyone against Jacob Mizorowski on
It'll
Wednesday.
be cooler. It'll be cooler. Probably wind blowing in tomorrow, I would bet.
Well, and that's because a lot of midday rain, I believe.
Yeah, you're starting to turn into my dad with the weather. You've been talking
Storms.
about the weather for about 48 hours straight. It's going to be all right. They'll figure out a way to get it in.
That's the former coach in me looking at some weather reports. And Jamison Tyone last 5 starts, 1.91 ERA. Meserowski made his major league debut last week.
I can't wait for the Brewers. I can't wait for this game.
To win the series on Wednesday, on the back of Tyone, who's been a steady veteran presence in the absence of Steele and Minaga and others, would really, man, I mean, it would really do wonders to be up 7+ games in the division.
I can't wait for this game. You got the sharp veteran on the mound versus the stud rookie top level prospect type guy, Wrigley Field. I'm telling you, if you want to have an impact on this game tomorrow and you're there, be standing up whenever you can when this kid's on the mound. Make him feel a little bit differently. See if you can get him a little bit erratic with his command, because he settles in. He's nasty, but I think game 2, young guy, Wrigley Field, a lot at stake. I think he might have a little bit of trouble with his command, or at least maybe that's wishful thinking. I'm out of all the games, I'm most excited for Wednesday night, excuse me.
Yeah, so let's get into some strategies for Wednesday and how they could win the series right away and not even leave it up to a rubber game.
Sure.
And we'll also take a look at the lineup, little Dansby Swanson chatter right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Trade Coffee. Let's be real. Coffee isn't just a drink. It's a ritual, a lifeline, the thing that gets you from half asleep to fully functioning. And if it's that essential, why settle for anything less than amazing? That's where Trade Coffee comes in. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the United States, delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're like my partner, Matt Cozy, and you love a good cold brew, or you're like the Cubs left fielder, Ian Happ, and you're a pour-over purist, Trade has got a roast that you're going to love. I took Trade's quiz. It only took a minute, and the first bag they sent me was spot on. The coffee was fresh, smelled amazing, and honestly, it ruined grocery store coffee for me in the best way. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customer 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB. That's TRADE.com/LockedOnMLB for 50% off your 1-month trial. drinktrade.com/LockedOnMLB.
Shout out to Brett Bielema and Luke Altmaier.
Thank you.
7th inning stretch on Tuesday, and Coach Bielema with
they did a duet.
Yeah, wow. They didn't exactly harmonize, but Coach Bielema with some words there at the top, and if you stick around, maybe you hear that back.
Oh, really? Look at you on the line-eye guy. You've always have been at heart.
Illinois preseason 11th in the ESPN Too Early Top 25.
Can you believe that?
Entering Tuesday, Dansby Swanson over the last 3 weeks hitting .205 with 25 strikeouts to 2 walks.
Mm-hmm.
On the season, Swanson entered Tuesday hitting .153 with runners in scoring position. Somehow he's grounded into 5 double plays. It seems like 10 or 11.
Does seem like
I guess I'm just wondering, Sam, they moved him to the 8th spot in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
Hit .387 with 3 homers in 9 games there. Is it time for him to move down again?
Yeah. I think this is a good topic. To me, this was the headline for me through about 4.5 innings tonight.
Right.
Before I answer your question, I just want to acknowledge that the Mets have lost 4 in a row, and the Cubs are now tied for first in the National League with the best record.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That's great.
The answer is yes. And I'm kind of starting to get irritated with this. I left you a spirited audio tonight because I'm just surprised Counsell doesn't agree with this. And he seems to not care that much about batting order. But then again, as you mentioned, he did move Swanson down 8 to 8 early in the year. And to me, I don't really even understand the counterpoint. And it's not a knock on Dansby, really. Like his slug, what he's doing, that's fine. But ambush people do that in the 7-8 hole. When you have dynamic players like Pete, Tucker, and Seiya, not in that order, in the middle of the order, I want my sure-handed, I'm going to make contact, I could steer the ball, I could go the other way guy in that 5 hole. I just think Nico's skill set is perfect there. I guess the counter is, if there was one, is, hey, I don't want a guy who can't hit homers hitting 5th. But to me, do homers really matter in the 5 hole if you're always going to be hitting with men on, and a base hit to right with 2nd and 3rd is the same as hitting a 2-run home run in the left center field basket? I just don't think Nico's optimized there. And I don't think, or maximized, I don't know what the right word is. And I don't think Dansby is in that spot. And I'm kind of getting frustrated by it by now. And, it's funny because Swanson hit a solo the other day, and it's like, oh, well, that's for all the Dansby haters. We're not Dansby haters. It's Dansby. Dansby's going to hit home runs. He's going to do a lot of good things. I just think with 2 on, 1 out, man on 3rd, less than 2 outs, I just think it seems like the 5th spot comes up more there. Now, maybe Council and those guys have stats that we don't have that says, hey, so far this year, the 7 spots actually come up more with runners in scoring position than the 5 spot. Maybe it's something like that. Okay. And then I'm proved wrong. And, I can go to use your phrase, have a scoop of ice cream. But but if I don't think that's the case, do you?
Not necessarily. I do think they need to leave, the binder at home more.
Leave it in the clubhouse.
With that being said, I'm optimistic Council could shuffle it again just because this is the guy that finally put Happ at leadoff. Mm-hmm. He did move Swanson down once. He moved Shaw down for good. Then he moved Swanson back up. He moved PCA up for good. So I am hopeful that he does another shuffle like this, because it is needed. And I don't really see a counterpoint besides the one that you just stated, that if something within the binder, talks about matchups and where people are on base, given the spot in the order. But he, by all measures, including the eye test, but other things too, I just think he's a 7 or 8 hitter. And, you have a really formidable first 4 in the lineup that, if you had to rank all the lineups, which I believe ESPN actually did on Tuesday.
Yeah. I didn't see that.
Their lineup, but their top 4 would be like top 4 in baseball.
For sure.
Happ, Tucker, Seiya, PCA.
It doesn't even count Bush.
Right. And so you have some elbow room here because of how successful you've been. And one argument could be, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But the Cubs do rank,
but it is
in baseball the last 3 weeks, especially on base, but also average. And I get it. They're 13-7 now since Memorial Day, but maybe they do shuffle it around again.
Well, and I would just last thing I'll say is I would add that I don't think tonight was a great offensive night. And one of the reasons why it wasn't a great offensive night is because Dansby left 4 on his first 2 ABs. I mean, it was a huge hit from Seiya, a great homer from Pete, a really nice piece of hitting from Matt Shaw to right center field. Would love to see more of that. But 5 runs on a day like today, and Patrick threw the ball well, and I get it, but if you were to tell me give or take 5 today, I don't know. I didn't feel like they were overly great. So my point is, it's not like if it's not broke, don't fix it. It is broke. They're just winning while it's broke. They've been one of the worst offenses, as you pointed out yesterday, in baseball for a few weeks now.
Yeah. They have. And the wind was blowing out Tuesday, and they didn't hit the over under total. So more evidence of the offense and of Wrigley, perhaps.
It was a fun night, though, wasn't it?
Oh, it was fantastic. I'm going to watch the highlights of this one right as I upload the show.
I was at a convenience store over the weekend getting Father's Day stuff for my dad. And I was looking, or not, I shouldn't say a convenience store, but a merch store. And I couldn't find a light blue PCA jersey there. I was going to buy it if it was. I saw the jersey, but I didn't see the jersey. They only had Tucker for that.
Yeah, I would probably get a jersey. Would you?
Oh, I was going to get one. I was going to get a light blue Pete jersey.
Wow.
That's what I want.
I thought you meant for your dad.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Well, you're right because I phrased it poorly because I was there for my dad. I got my dad. No, my dad would never wear any player.
Never wear something like that.
Never ever would wear a player. I got him a hoodie.
Gotcha.
He would be ashamed if I got him. He wouldn't even wear his favorite player of all time, the great Billy Williams. My dad doesn't believe in jerseys.
Porter Hodge and Eli Morgan were scheduled to throw Tuesday for AAA Iowa. Shota Minaga is supposed to do that on Friday. So that's encouraging down on the farm. All right, we'll be back after Wednesday's game. This is Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB channel on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
Brewer fans, sit down.